Panago Pizza presents SCP. The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle and Adam
Well, just
Wylde.
hours after the NHL wraps up their very foggy and underattended game, the first of its kind in China, we have... There's really no connection here. P. Blackburn! Hey! I tried. Wait, we're going to try that again? Try that again?
Going with this.
Sure.
Just months after Fox Sports 1 officially pivoted to video, we now have CBS Sports digital writer. What would you describe your...
I'm just gonna read his Twitter. Sports, pop culture, and less important things. Writer for CBS Sports, podcaster for Listen to Brunch and Section 10 podcast.
the one and only Pete Blackburn. Hi, Pete.
Take two was not bad.
Two was better. Two was better than one.
I disagree.
So Pete, man, okay, so first off, we just want to say congratulations. We understand that now you will officially be able to leave your mother's basement.
Yes, I guess, but I probably won't. Anyway.
Yeah, that's where all his weights are.
That's true.
He's definitely not going to leave. He's got to do the California workout as the most jacked person in sports podcasting. I'll call him.
I'm sure that's a real tough title to attain.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
No, you're right, Pete. All the in-shape guys are doing this right now.
Yeah. Well, Cam Sharon could have been. He was like a personal trainer,
Was
and
he?
then he's like, math, Leafs.
Yeah.
Now he's on
Pythagorean
the
theorem,
Leafs.
you might say?
Pythagorean. I cannot wait to get to that.
We are going to get to that.
This
We are going
whole
to get to that.
show is just banter around that.
Oh, so we got a few things that we got to talk about, Pete. Are you upset about Torrey Krug?
I am upset about Torrey Krug. I love Torrey Krug.
What happened to Torrey
I
Krug?
wish all the best for him, and I don't want to see... He has a nice, handsome face, too. I don't want to see his handsome face adjusted by shots taken to the grill.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
I
puck
must
in the,
have missed that.
Yeah, he's going to miss 3 weeks for puck in the mouth.
Oh.
So that's not cool.
It's a bad condition to have, that old puck in the mouth. Ugh.
So, Pete, before we really get started here, a lot of people are going to know you, especially from Canada, a lot of people are going to know you as, somebody who's absolutely hysterical to follow on Twitter. But you've also worked for Uprocks, Fox Sports 1, now with CBS Sports. If you were to give us like a quick resume, where did you start? How did you get into this? What did you do? And then we're going to talk full-on sports because there's a ton of stuff, a ton of ground to cover.
Well, I started in college. I started blogging with my own blog, and I did that for like the entirety of my college career. So like 9 years trying to get my undergraduate degree, and then that was
spent
a joke
9
about
years
me
in
taking
getting
9
your
years
undergrad?
to achieve a 4-year degree. But so I did that, and I kind of got a little bit of a following from there. So once I graduated, I was put in charge of this kind of like startup site, and I ran that for about 2 years. And then from there is when I joined on to Uprocks, and I was at Uprocks for about a year before Fox Sports scooped me up. And then I was at Fox Sports for a little under a year before they decided to pivot to irrelevance. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Which
Tell
I
us
can't
how
wait
you
to
really
talk
feel,
about.
man.
Sorry, can we just back up a little bit there, Van Wilder? 9 years to get your undergrad? Is that what I heard?
yeah, that was a joke about me. Being
So in the room, Pete, you missed this, but in the room, Steve asked that question while you were telling us the
What a
answer,
dick.
and you didn't hear him. So Jesse's like, no, ask it again. because Jesse and I picked up on the fact that you might have been kidding. But
Steve wanted to ask a serious question, so I encouraged him to
Right,
speak up
right.
in class.
I used to tell people I do a podcast with my friends, and now I just tell them I do a podcast.
So Pete,
God damn it.
you're obviously now with CBS Sports. So what are you doing? That you're writing words on a computer screen and then posting that to the internet, which is something that Fox Sports is no longer doing. What specifically are you doing there?
my official title is trending writer, so I'm going to be like covering the stuff that basically the internet's talking about every day, and trying to do it. And the reason that they brought me on was because they're looking to get more voice-driven stuff, and if there's something that I have, it's definitely a voice, whether you like it or not. So I'm going to be kind of just doing that stuff every day, and I'm sure there'll be hockey stuff once the season starts. So I'll be writing columns and stuff like that. So, but I guess my main job title and duty is to kind of cover what the internet's talking about in sort of a humorous fashion. So, should be fun.
Well, you're terrible at that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
As someone who has been laid off many, very many times themselves, how good are you feeling right now that you're like, I think, what is this, week 1 at the new gig?
Yeah, so this is my second day, and
oh, wow.
I'm already taking time off to do this podcast. So I'm sure
That's good.
I'm sure the second layoff won't be far behind. But yeah, no, I feel really, really great. And honestly, it really couldn't have worked out more perfect in the sense that I was laid off immediately after hockey season, and I was unemployed throughout the entire summer. So it was a pretty good summer of Pete over here, and if you're gonna get laid off, might as well be in the off season, might as well be during the nicest weather of the year, and not to mention the fact that I ended up landing in a spot where I'm happy. I'm working with a bunch of really good people, and I really, really like the direction that we're headed in. My bosses seem to really understand what I'm able to do well, so it should be fun.
It's very important to have bosses like identify what you're good at and actually let you do it.
I've learned that that's the biggest thing for me. It's like I need to be able to work with somebody who understands my strengths, understands my weaknesses, and kind of just isn't a dick. Like you're
wow.
only
deep, man.
That's not to say that was the case at Fox, because I worked with some awesome people over at Fox. And the whole team was great, which is why I was so bitter about the fact that they just dissolved everything. But I have learned that just you're only as good as your boss lets you be. So that was really, really important to me when I was looking for the next gig.
So, I mean, since we're on the subject, what happened? What happened to Fox, and why did they do it? Why get rid of all your editorial content?
I mean, if you're looking for the answers, you're asking the wrong person, because I still have trouble wrapping my head around it. From what I understand it, I mean, the reason that it happened is because somebody who doesn't really understand editorial and doesn't really understand how consuming sports content works looked at numbers on a page and said, hey, video revenue is more lucrative than selling ads for digital stories or digital journalism and things like that. So they just decided to completely pivot to video to make money. But when you do that, you kind of just ignore the fact that most people don't go to websites to watch video. Like,
no. Like if I'm in an airport and I'm on the Sportsnet app, I'm reading.
Right. Like if you're in any public place, even if you're at home, I feel like most people don't want to watch a video. They'd rather just quickly read an article and get the same sort of content. I guess if you're super duper lazy, or if you're on Facebook, you love videos. But I just think that most of the time, especially for people at work or people in public, they're not going to watch a video. So I still have trouble wrapping my head around it. But I think the fallout of that decision has really kind of proven that it was. Proven everybody thought that it was a bad idea when it happened, and the fallout's kind of proven that was correct.
Yeah, Jesse just showed me the smoldering poop emoji that is foxsports.com. Like I'm looking at it today. It's a Tumblr page. What they invented was a Tumblr page.
Yep.
That's all it is.
Do you happen to see the statistics that came out last week?
Okay,
Glad you asked there, Peter. Glad you asked. So are you talking the Jimmy Traina tweet?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. Richard Deitch and Jimmy Traina put out a couple nice little tidbits about their traffic numbers.
Well, here's the one I got. So uniques. So what would a unique be, by the way?
A unique view, you mean?
A unique view? Okay.
So that would be like one. It's like, because there's views and then there's unique views. So if I go to a page 10 times, it's still one unique view.
Okay.
That's how I understand it. Am I wrong, Pete?
Yeah, no, that's correct.
Okay. So uniques, August 2016, 26.4 million. That's amazing.
For foxsports.com. This past August 2017, 9.
Wow.
Time spent, August 2016, 136 million minutes.
It's a lot.
August 2017, 56
Sorry, 56
million.
million.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's not even 56 million. It's just 56 minutes.
Just 56 minutes, less than an hour. And video-only uniques. In August 2016, 1.4 million. And in August 2017, 103,000.
Whoa.
So, wait, I'm sorry. Is that how many people viewed a video on foxsports.com in August?
Pete?
103,000.
That's it?
I guess it's just insane to me. When I was there,
I get that a week.
I don't think I was I don't think I was the highest read person there, but when I was there, my benchmark was 3 million page views a month. So, just looking at those numbers and seeing that they're having trouble even cracking that is crazy to me. It's insane, but it's not. And the worst part is it's kind of predictable. I think everybody could have said that this is going to go poorly. I don't know if people thought that it would go this poorly this fast, though.
So you got to think that they're going to self-correct here pretty soon and start hiring editorial staff back, no?
I mean, you would imagine, but I want to see how that goes. Just because they had such a great staff in place beforehand. And that's not even blowing smoke or not even, obviously I'm biased because I worked there and I was part of it, but I really, really love the team that we had. And, we had a lot of people who understood the internet and a lot of people who understood how to actually make a profitable and enjoyable website that was fun to go to, and was also able to cover news and do opinion and do just like that kind of fun stuff. It was a great mix of that stuff, and they threw it all away. So that's tough to get back. There are a lot of websites that cover sports on the internet, and not a ton of them do it well. So it'll be interesting to see how they put a team together if they decide to do that again. But I will say they do have the money to be able to do it. So
yeah, they do.
We'll see.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's why I think there will be a correction here. Like when things started to go downhill at maybe Leafs TV when I was there, or CBC. It was budget restrictions. Like they were broke, right?
Yeah.
Fox isn't broke; they're just dumb. For what they did.
Well, and
so I got to assume they'll correct it.
The interesting part for me, and Pete, you know a little bit more about this, and I want to segue this into the NHL in the United States because ESPN did something similar. And I want to kind of get how it's viewed down there because, we only really have the Canadian perspective. But, when you look at the chasm between what management knows about the internet and what you know about the internet, I wonder when this decision was made, did anybody go to the guy in charge? And it was one guy. And strangely enough, he was let go a week after all these layoffs happened. For sexual assault allegations.
You go right ahead. I don't know.
Harassment. Okay. Did anybody, Pete, go to him and go, was this a surprise, or did anybody go to him and go, hey, you're making the wrong move here? Do you know anything about that?
Oh, I think there was plenty of resistance. So I first got wind of the possibility that there would be layoffs a couple of months before they actually happened. But I was so disconnected from the rest of the team there because I'm in Boston and they're based out of LA, and pretty much everybody works in LA who works for the website. So I was very much out of the loop. But from what I heard, almost everybody else was kept out of the loop too. My boss didn't know what the hell was going to happen until the day that I was laid off, and he was laid off as well. But the guy who actually hired me, I know that he had discussions with Jamie Horowitz, who was in charge at the time. I know that he had discussions trying to convince him not to do the whole full video thing. And obviously they didn't really work. But I know that he did his damn best to convince him not to do that because he saw it for what it was, and now he works at ESPN. So
wow. And ESPN has cut a lot of their NHL coverage. So, being down there, and I know you're not exclusively in the NHL with what you're doing with CBS, but it seems like it's your first love. How is it perceived by the fans, and how is it perceived by the media outlets? Because you have the benefit of being able to look at it from both perspectives. So is it that the media outlets down there don't see it as enough of a money winner, which in many cases it's not, and do the fans see it as the fans are like small and hardcore, or how does it work down there?
I mean, there's definitely. I have the benefit of living in a really great hockey city in Boston. I mean, it's about as good here, and like in Minnesota, is probably the two best places to be. But as far as that goes, I don't know. On the digital side, I know that there's an audience for hockey, but the ceiling isn't quite as high in terms of readership here. So, I was doing well with my hockey stuff at Fox. It was read consistently, and I would hit my numbers and benchmarks. But the stories wouldn't take off like some of the NBA stories would, and they wouldn't gain that traction. And I think a big reason why is hockey doesn't have the pull in terms of names and pure stardom down here. When you look at the NBA, it's like you got LeBron, you got Steph Curry, Durant, like those names. People will read stories and have interest or watch TV segments just based around those names. And the NHL doesn't really have the same effect here. If you ask a casual hockey fan or somebody who only watch a few games a year down here, like I did this last year, most people that I talked to just didn't even know who Connor McDavid was, and that's insane to me. I know that he's young, and I know that he's only been in the league for a few years, but he's arguably he's probably the second best player in the game right now, if you ask me. And the fact that most casual fans just don't even know who he is or what team he plays for is crazy. It's just insane. It shouldn't be that way.
Is it because they lack the pizzazz, like personality-wise? And pizzazz is such an old word, but LeBron's a personality. Kevin Durant has multiple Twitter accounts. There are guys in the NBA and the NFL who have real outlandish, crazy personalities, and the NHL doesn't seem to have that. Is that part of it?
Yeah, and I think part of it is that they're really not allowed to, or it's not encouraged for them to have those loud personalities, or be more than just like a team guy. Anything that a guy does to kind of build his own brand or his individual interest is looked at a lot of the times as him being selfish, or him being a diva, or trying to command too much spotlight for himself. And it shouldn't be that way. It should be guys should be trying to build up their own brand as much as possible, because that brings attention to them. It brings attention to the game, and it just creates interest. And I've had that stance for a while, and it's just frustrating to see how much because hockey players are interesting. They are interesting despite what they might come off as in interviews and stuff like that, with all their cliches. But these are like really humorous, a lot of times really humorous, really good guys with great personalities, and they're just not allowed to put them on display.
I think that's probably true. Because you talk to any of them off camera, they're just regular. They're just regular people. They love to crack jokes. They probably trash talk more than most other sports. And then you put a microphone in front of their face and they say nothing. Here's my gauge for personality and fame these days. Is there an NHL player famous enough and charismatic enough to do an episode of Hot Ones? Do you know that show?
Yes, I do know that show, and my answer would be probably one single person, and I bet you can guess who it is.
Alexander Ovechkin.
No, but that would be a pretty good one.
Yeah,
I would say PK Subban.
He'd be fun.
Oh, I was going to say Shea Weber, but yeah.
And not Sidney Crosby. That's interesting.
Yeah. McDavid, Maybe. Like that new EA commercial, like it was like kind of a glimmer of hope. Like maybe we're actually going to let this guy have fun. Like maybe we're going to let him have fun.
But if you put Sidney Crosby on an episode of Hot Wings, I guarantee you he would share all his wings with his teammates.
Yeah. How can I incorporate this into hockey? Yeah.
How do I make this a team game?
He would just keep handing wings to Chris Kunitz and Connor Sherry, even though Kunitz isn't on the Penguins anymore. No, that's my new gauge, though. Because Kevin Durant went on Hot Ones, and it wasn't weird. It wasn't weird. Like, he has a personality. He's funny.
A persona.
And he's on a bad day a top 3 player in the league, right? Mm-hmm. So, does hockey have that? I guess the answer is
probably not.
Not really.
No, if you look at somebody like Lonzo Ball, who's never played a game in the NBA, he's more famous than every NHL player, I'd say.
Lonzo Ball's dad is...
That is true.
When was the last time a hockey player was on Monday Night Raw?
Yeah.
Right?
Never.
Right.
I'm
now,
trying to think.
What do you think is a bigger brand? CCM down there or Big Baller Brand?
I think it's got to be CCM.
No, okay.
Nobody gives a shit about Big Baller Brand.
Yes, we got one.
Even the balls don't give a shit about Big Baller Brand.
Okay.
I don't know, man. I could really go for some $600 shoes or whatever the hell.
Those shoes will be the lightest shoes ever.
Yeah.
Is that what they are?
No,
that's what they said.
Great. They'll also fall apart, probably.
Nope.
No.
No.
They're $400.
They're $400,
and they're the lightest shoes ever.
Yeah.
That's scary. So Peter, we've got to talk about the Bruins here for a sec because it was sort of an interesting summer. And if you look at Cap Friendly, which I love to look at Cap Friendly
every day.
Every
show.
Every day. It's my There was one particular player who until recently did not have a contract, and I wanted to know how terrifying was it having the prospect of David Pastrnak not coming to camp?
It was the most terrifying. It just, when you're a Bruins fan, every summer there's something where it's like, all right, what could go wrong here? Because it's absolutely going to go wrong, and it's going to be the worst. And for Bruins fans, it was the Pastrnak contract this year, and it was very, very hard to explain because in the back of my mind, I knew that they were going to get it done. I knew that. There's no way that they can screw this up again.
Oh, there's a few ways.
There's a way, yeah. And they almost got there. But just as it kept going on, I was like, there's no way that they can screw this up. But then, I kept tricking myself into thinking, well, they've done it before. They can definitely do it again. So I was, torn in the middle. And I think I was just more frustrated by, the reaction to the fan reaction to kind of the negotiations as they were going on. Somehow at the beginning of the summer, he deserved a big contract and, he was in line for a huge payday after last season. And then that shifted as the summer went on and fans were like, well, he's only had one good year, so you can't pay him for 7 or 8, and he doesn't deserve he doesn't deserve more than $7 million a year or whatever. And it's like, dude, he just came off a season as a 20-year-old in which almost like nobody has done that other than greats. So, and then obviously the classic Bruins fan move is to blame Peter Chiarelli for setting the bar way too high and screwing up the current state of the Bruins, even from Edmonton. So, I don't know, it was so frustrating. And when they finally got the deal done, I was almost disappointed that Don Sweeney won because that deal's great, and I love criticizing Don Sweeney, and I it was as a negative pessimist person, it was a bummer to me that I couldn't hold that over Don Sweeney's head because he definitely won in the negotiations and then stalling there. So
I got a couple questions there. One is, do you find Bruins fans are more likely to turn on their own than others? Because that is my observation, or at least the media in Boston.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Bruins fans, they're from Boston, so they automatically just hate everybody pretty much anyway. So, but I will say that Bruins fans do turn on each other more than most of the other sports here. It does seem that way.
Why is that?
Because I think there's such a big divide between like old big bad Bruins and like the old time style of hockey. And so like a lot of the older fans are very, very resistant to, analytics and kind of the way that the game has evolved. And they just like when they see a guy like David Backes, they're like, oh, big time leader in the room, and he plays a tough physical game and he plays with a ton of heart. They see that contract and they're like, oh, what a great deal for the Bruins. And then, smart people look at that and go, wow, that contract's going to look bad in a couple of years.
Right.
And I think there is such a big divide between those two styles of hockey fans, especially here.
Kind of seems like there's a divide in management, too.
Yeah, I think that, Cam Neely has gotten away with, has escaped without a ton of blame. But, if you're going to point the finger at somebody, it should be that guy rather than Peter Chiarelli or Don Sweeney. A lot of the decisions seem to be coming from Cam Neely.
He's still there.
And, it's a weird position to be in as a Bruins fan now because you look at, the pipeline, and they have a lot of good young players coming up. And there's a lot of reason to be optimistic for where the team is headed. But then you also look at, the David Backes contract. You look at the Matt Bolesky contract. They're going to have to pay these young guys, and they're in kind of a tougher position than they should be because they still stink at signing players.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a real tough position to be in. Like they're good. They seem to be good at scouting. They seem to be good at building the pipeline, but they just really make questionable moves in terms of player acquisition.
The other question I had, and it applies to the Bruins now, and for me it applied to the Leafs, I would say, as recently as last year, definitely 2 years ago. How do you balance cheering for what is best for the team and what's hilarious? Because for the longest time, the Leafs, just nothing but hits. Nothing but hits hilarity, but it made the team really, really, really bad.
You could say, one might say that you established your career on the misery of Leaf fandom.
If the Leafs made the playoffs 4 times, in my first 9 years doing videos, I don't think anyone would have cared. I think it's because
it's a bonding
were so
experience,
bad.
yeah.
And the one time they make it, it's friggin' Game 7.
I will speak from personal experience, Steve. You definitely built your brand off of Leafs misery. Because my first exposure to you was when I was in high school, probably like 10 years ago at this point. It was you screaming into a YouTube video about Tuukka Rask shutting out the Leafs in his first game.
Crying out loud! I forgot that happened.
So that was my first exposure to you. But in terms of that question, I think that there's an answer, and it's I would rather see the Bruins be absolutely hilariously terrible than see them stuck in the middle and be, just a bubble team like they've been for the past couple of years.
You can't seem to move forward, right? If you're a bubble team, you can't.
Yeah, if you're a bubble team, you're just stuck in mediocrity unless something brilliant happens to you, which you're probably going to wait a while for that to happen. It's like if I hate the moves that are like, they'll be a better team, but it's not going to put them over the edge. So I'd rather see them be horrible, knowing that I'll be able to get good content and be able to, make fun of them and at least make it a little bit more entertaining for fans than see them kind of toil in mediocrity and just be like, this team's not going to do anything. So.
What will the Bruins get for Zdeno Chara at the trade deadline?
I don't imagine that happening.
You're all the way wrong, but continue.
Steve has this dream that he's going to come to the Leafs somehow.
Yeah, and we're going to go from Martin Marincin to Zdeno Chara, and it's going to be dope.
It would be a solid pickup if the Leafs were able to get him. But yeah, I don't see it happening because I think the Bruins believe that they can compete, whether that's correct or incorrect. We'll see. But I do think that this front office won't concede the fact that that they're either selling or giving up on competing. So they're not going to trade Chara, and I also think that they want to keep him probably for a couple of years beyond this year.
Wow.
At a limited
really?
price.
Okay.
So I think that he might stick around beyond the season.
Right, and if you limit his ice, he's still a pretty effective guy just based on his size. As long as he can skate
It's
a little
just
bit.
workload, yeah.
Yeah, like he's not a top pairing guy anymore, but that doesn't mean he's not very effective.
Yeah, I think that he's one of those guys that gets an unwarranted amount of criticism here. I mean, I think a lot of the fans like to criticize him for being slow and old, and it's like he was never fast. He's a huge, monstrous guy who is still pretty good and pretty sound defensively. So he's not your number one, or he shouldn't be. He has been your number one because guess what? The rest of the Bruins defense has stunk over the past few years, and that's not his fault. If he's in a role where he should be, and if he was a second pairing guy, that would be unbelievable. And I still think that there's a chance for him to have a role that fits him here in the next few years if the Bruins defense pans out with the young guys like McAvoy and Carlo. He shouldn't have to be the guy. And I think that if the Bruins management realizes that or puts him in a position where he doesn't have to be the guy, I'd like to see him stick around.
Well, and yeah, I mean, he's Ottawa Senators fans are going to hate this, but he's a Bruins legend. Like he is. Like he's going to be one of those guys. I think that 10 years from now they go back and they honor him because of the amazing accomplishments, including a Stanley Cup.
Guy's been around a very long time. Like there's a Wayne Gretzky anecdote, like where he was on the Rangers and he sees Zdeno Chara get on the ice with the Islanders. And he just skates over to the bench. He goes, "Yeah, that's why I'm retiring." But that's how long Chara's been around.
Yeah.
Wow.
He got to play against Wayne Gretzky.
And now the young guys see him on the ice and they just say, "Well, I'm just going to skate around him."
Yeah, it's
true.
Well, and he can't even slash him
everybody's so
anymore.
fast.
Yeah, can't even slash anybody anymore. Oh my God, are the new rules just going to drive Bruins fans? There's of all the fan bases they could piss off.
It's Brad Marsh.
Bruins are probably top. Philly's in there.
Basically the NHL has limited Brad Marchand's game. His face-offs, the way he takes face-offs, and the way that he uses his stick. To me, that's his game.
Dustin Byfuglien is going to average 45 seconds of even strength ice time a game.
Yeah.
Brad Marchand is going to have 4 million penalties.
Yes, he is. He'll still score 40 goals. But those are the things that make him supremely effective in getting under opponent's skin.
Breakaways coming out of the box.
The guys who are good at face-offs, I think they're going to benefit from the new face-off.
You think so?
Yeah, because nobody's going to want to be able to take the risk, and it's going to be more fair. So the guys who are actually good at it are going to have an opportunity to show their skill.
Well, that's interesting, though, because the two Leafs who have struggled the most are Moore and Bozak.
Mm-hmm. And those are supposed to be the strongest.
Those are supposed to be the guys. So, if you're now relying heavily on, Matthews or Kadri, Kadri's never been, a strong face-off guy. I don't know. To me, I said this on the radio yesterday, and sorry, Pete, we're going a little leafy here, but this is... it's a great opportunity for Miro Aaltonen because you look at it and you go, well, he's a European. He's going to have trouble adjusting to the North American game, so that's going to be hindering him making the team. Well, Dominic Moore is having trouble adjusting to the North American game because the North American game changed overnight. So who is the new face-off rule going to benefit? I don't know because I think the guys who are best at face-offs are the best at cheating. And now they're cracking down on cheating.
Well, and I couldn't, and I know there's a lot of people saying, don't complain, this will even itself out, and I'm sure it will, but it sure is really annoying. I don't know, Pete, if you've seen, I don't know how the Bruins have done in the face-off circle recently in the preseason,
Bergeron, buddy.
But it's a little bit frustrating to watch, and the flow of the game gets interrupted, because now, instead of the ref not dropping the puck, you have the ref... or you have a linesman not dropping the puck, which was annoying enough. Now you've got them dishing out penalties for pointless infractions, right?
Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to look at the silver lining, if there's more penalties, then you're looking at a possible increase in scoring and power play scoring. So we'll see how it goes in terms of that. But I just it's so frustrating to me that with the place that the game is in now, if this slows it down it's a bad thing for the game because nobody, the two rule changes, the two biggest rule changes that have seemed to have come out of the past year or a year or two is that the offsides reviews and then this now. And both of those could actively work to slow the game down, which nobody wants.
Well, and also, from a visual standpoint, power plays generate more goals, but power plays are, kind of boring, aren't they?
Well, they're exciting for one team.
They're exciting.
Yeah, right.
But it's all in one spot, and it's just four guys looking to guard five guys, and they're all pretty much standing still. There's no flow. You're not utilizing the skills of today's hockey players, which is speed.
Yeah, and then icing the puck is just, okay, we're going to kill 20 seconds and watch everybody skate to the other end and then come back in the zone. That's not exciting.
Yeah, you want to see McDavid take a rush?
Yeah.
Or do you want to see them friggin' play Harlem Globetrotters, around the zone? I'll just watch basketball.
Yeah, right.
That's what I'm saying. If there were more power plays, usually power plays slow the game down because it just allows one team to set up and kind of just rotate, pass back and forth until they're able to find an open guy and just bury it in the back of the net.
Yeah,
So it slows the game down. There's no end-to-end action usually in power play.
With the slashing, do you guys agree a little bit more with that? With the fact that because there's a ton of that going on, and didn't someone break their hand last year? Because
Mark Mathot
lost a finger.
Johnny Gaudreau, didn't he? Johnny Gaudreau always gets slashed.
Yeah, Johnny Gaudreau, I think, was out for a while. I want to say Brendan Gallagher, but I know he also accidentally blocked a Weber shot.
Ooh, fun.
Wasn't there someone on the Bruins as well?
I know a few years ago, Torrey Krug, I think he suffered a wrist fracture.
Boy.
Slash on the wrist.
He's had a good couple years then. Wrist and jaw.
For sure.
I just I feel like with the slashing thing, that makes sense to me. That makes sense. It's okay, fine. You want to cut back on the slashing. You don't want somebody else walking around with half a finger like Mark Mathot did. I get that. I wondered though with the face-off violation, other than Jeff Merrick, I don't know a single person who noticed or cared about how those face-offs were going. Do you remember a single fan at any point going, boy, I sure hate that Brad Marchand or Sidney Crosby cheated. Logan Couture sure had a point 2 Stanley Cups ago. You know what I mean? Remember he made that comment about how Sidney Crosby cheats in the face-off circle?
Oh, yeah.
So, who is this to benefit?
That's the stupidest thing because everybody cheats. And if everybody cheats, the playing field is still level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The old
steroid trick.
Lance Armstrong.
I'm a Patriots fan. So,
well,
if everybody cheats, it's fine.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I was at the preseason game on Tuesday, and everybody started actively booing every time somebody got kicked out, regardless of which team, if it was an Ottawa player or a Leafs player who was getting kicked out of the faceoff, just because it was delaying the game. We wanted the action to start back. And
right.
Gotta take 10 seconds, throw somebody out.
I would rather see two guys cheating than see guys just constantly getting kicked out of the face-off circle. I don't need to see that. Just get on with the game.
And what's wrong with what they were doing? The official just doesn't drop the puck. It's annoying. But at least it's not, okay, now we got to stop, reset, send somebody off, and then we're going to go to commercial break, and then we're going to come back, and now we're good to go.
And now if you punch someone in the face, you get the same ramifications for if your foot is over the line. In the face-offs. It's dumb. Now, to kind of counter something that we just said a minute ago, they want this to be a teaching thing. The goal is not necessarily, well, I don't know if I believe this, but the goal is not necessarily to increase penalties. It's to get these players to stop doing it. So they're getting them to stop cheating in the face-off circle, but also if they stop it with the slashing, if they reduce actual slashing, the game will be faster.
See,
will be more free flowing.
The slashing makes sense. Again, if
I feel like
face-off people are you look at the way Marchand and Crosby and these guys who are really, really good at this, who people call them cheaters. I almost look at it and go, are they cheaters or have they innovated? Are they just doing the thing that no one else has thought of yet? And they advanced
a cheater. Marchand's a cheater. Bergeron, I think, is an innovator.
Right? Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I just feel like is and I could be wrong on this, but is Crosby not creating? Are you limiting the creativity of the face-off? And if that's the new way to take the face-off, then that's what they do. And if you got to slap another guy's stick out of the way and that's a little bit of gamesmanship, that's kind of fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I just never had a problem with it.
I think it'll even out for a guy like Crosby, right? Because now he can no longer cheat in the face-off circle. But what happens when you can't slash Sidney Crosby anymore?
Right. Yeah.
The return of the 120-point season.
Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be good. So, Pete, did you catch any of the game this morning with the Kings and Canucks in China?
I cannot say that I did. I had very little interest. I had very little interest in preseason hockey to begin with. But when you put it on, what time was that at? It was at like
7:30 this morning, Eastern Standard. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not getting up at 7:30 in the morning for a preseason hockey game.
Well, and which
Honestly.
Canucks fans and Kings fans saw that game?
Yeah.
'Cause that would have been at 4:30.
Right. That seems like a gigantic oversight on the NHL's part.
Well, New York
so
time,
true.
it'll be 7:30. But you're right. And the thing
Who
was,
watched this game?
Also, it's a weekday.
and nobody was there either. Nobody in China was there apparently either. Like
Did this game-
not.
Better question. Did this game happen? Do we have... Okay, we saw a box score. Do we have proof that those things happen?
I mean,
do we have video?
that's
Let's go
true.
to foxsports.com to find out.
But guys, they're really trying to grow the international game. That's why they're putting preseason games on at 4:30 in the morning local time, and not sending players to the Olympics. That's their business plan.
That's a
right now.
great strategy. I hope this continues because they'll continue to be just North America only that way. Well, I've got one of the guys who actually writes for Hockey Buzz kind of did a really good kind of breakdown, and we got a couple friends that work there, and he said the NHL will be in China a minimum of 6 times in the next 8 years. Could be more. Can't confirm
That doesn't
yet.
seem like very much.
No, it's like the NFL in Canada, right? They're like, 6 times in the next 8
well,
years.
and that was a huge success. So.
Can't confirm regular season NHL games in China at this point. There's apparently 15 teams, including the Bruins, Islanders, Capitals, and Canadiens, have expressed interest. NHL representatives met with Kunlun. Is it Kunlun? Kunlun Red Star?
Yeah.
Which is a KHL team, and they do every single time that they go out to China. And I
and
guess
a CWHL team as well.
right. So they're apparently. They are working with that. This is where I thought it was interesting that the NHL and the KHL are actually working together in China to grow the game because they believe there's mutual benefit there. And that was an interesting point. I thought that's kind of cool.
If I know anything about the KHL, it's that I don't know. I think they have something nefarious
Okay,
going
well,
on. Do they owe the NHL money? How much? And how long have they owed them that for?
Fair
Was
enough.
it given to them in a brown paper bag?
they're seeing this as a 20 to 30 year plan to break into China, and there's a chance that they haven't confirmed this that an NHL team in a preseason game will play Red Star.
The NHL might not be able to break into Calgary, which is a market
Right.
they're already in. So
Yeah.
I don't know, I'll believe it when I see it.
Pete, what did you think of the Joffrey Lupul stuff?
I didn't actually see what actually happened there. I caught up on it a little bit this morning, but what did he actually say?
So, okay, he tweeted a picture of him snowboarding down a pretty rad slope, and he basically said all work is what, which is, the Mayweather thing. But then someone talked about, someone left a comment like, didn't you just fail your physical? Because it's true, like less than a week before he posts this, Lou Lamoriello goes, oh yeah, both Nathan Horton and Joffrey Lupul failed their physicals.
Right.
And then Lupul posts this thing of him going down a hill. That guy leaves a comment, and Lupul leaves 2 comments in response. One of them was, I'm just waiting for the call, which is kind of cryptic. Oh, here it is. Thank you, Jesse. Yeah, just waiting for the call. And then the really bad one, haha, failed physical? They cheat. Everyone lets them. So,
But that's basically just suggesting that they just let the Leafs stash him.
Basically. Now, what's interesting is that,
And then he released an apology.
everybody assumed that he was on LTIR last year, and he wasn't. He actually was. The Leafs actually had him on the cap. Now, if they wanted to make, I believe if that,
it only activates if you're above the cap.
Yeah.
So they were below it, so it didn't need to activate.
so if the
then they had
Filppula,
overage.
if Filppula had accepted the deal from Tampa to Toronto with Brian Boyle, then it would have activated. But because it never happened, and he didn't want to go play for Babcock. It ended up being that they didn't have to use that space, so he never actually went on long-term injury reserve, and he's still on IR.
Yeah.
He's not on LTIR, which is different.
He's on. He might come back injured reserve.
Yes. And he said today, now this is what he tweeted out last night. I just want to complete the story, Pete. He said, I responded earlier this week to some negative comments on Instagram. It was an inappropriate response and I deleted it, but I take full responsibility. It's been extremely tough not to be able to play for the last 1.5 years or 1.5 years. I will not be seeking a second opinion, but I hope one day to be able to get back on the ice. I apologize to the media, fans, Leafs organization, and most of all my teammates for this unneeded distraction.
Pete, you're a Patriots fan. Is this cheating?
Yeah. Yeah, and I do think there is some shady crap that goes on around the league. Like, I thought the hostess stuff was pretty shady
Come on.
in Chicago, and like,
What about Datsuk in Detroit?
yeah, I mean, like there's definitely circumvention that goes on around the league, and you know, I don't know how you deal with it. I just think that, you know, when a guy comes out and says something and maybe suggests that there's some shady crap going on, don't write it off immediately. And I know that he was probably forced to apologize, but there's probably something there.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I wouldn't be quick to write those guys off.
I agree. Well, and like we kind of freaked out about it last show, and I freaked out on Lupul, and I freaked out on Kadri. Like, I think now it has the chance to go away, which I think is exactly what the Leafs want, and I think it's what Lupul wants too. But on that note, it doesn't necessarily excuse what's going on, whatever that is, because we don't know. It was suggested in the city that the Leafs have something on him. Now, I don't know exactly how accurate that is, but like, if they're holding something over Lupul's head, that's definitely a problem.
Or
That's basically like blackmail.
it is.
Yes.
However, if you have an agreement with somebody, that's different. So if you agreed that, hey, we won't come out with this, but also understand that you're not playing for us, and that's the agreed upon
That's still
thing.
a shady agreement.
That's
That's
but
a
I mean,
mob
yeah.
agreement.
That's still some.
I mean,
okay.
but if he agreed to it, that's my point, right? Like, you know, I don't know. Would he have lost money if they bought him out?
I don't know.
I'm sure he would have lost some, right?
We'll ask
you
Chris Johnson next week.
Yeah, because I'm not sure fully how the cap works on that with players over the age of 24. But apparently, isn't it like you don't get
the bio penalty for him would have been pretty low for the Leafs, but
Right.
I think he still collects that salary.
okay? He does. Okay, full salary.
That's I think it's like 2/3 of the salary.
Right.
Is what he would collect.
So then they could say to him, listen, we can buy you out, or we can just pay you, and you can be quiet and make your money, make
or
all
you
of your
could
money.
do none of the work and make all of the money. Yeah.
So I wonder about that, and I guess he wants to make a comeback next year, which is going to be tough after 2.5 years away from the game. But now I want to get everybody's opinion on this, because the cap circumvention thing has always sort of been an issue ever since it was instituted, and Lou Lamoriello has been really at the forefront of that. Is it cap circumvention if it's legal? So if you know the Ilya Kovalchuk deal at the time was basically legal, except for the fact that it was not in the spirit of the CBA. And that was what the NHL, I believe, took issue with.
They had to basically change the rule. Like, that was I'm surprised it's not called the Lou Lamoriello rule in the same way that it's called the Sean Avery rule.
Yeah.
For waving your stick in the goalie's face. Like, it was him.
Yeah.
It's his fault.
Yeah. So is that really cap circumvention, or is it just people taking it to the letter of the law and going, well, this is allowed, so I'm going to take advantage of it? And is that not just a competitive advantage?
Pete?
I mean, like if you, I don't know. I think if you can do it within the letter of the law and get away with it, then that forces it to be written in. So, I mean, again, I hate to keep bringing up the Patriots, but Bill Belichick does that all the time. He'll exploit things that are, basically frowned upon, but it's legal, and he can do it if he wants to. And then until the NFL says, all right, now we're going to change the rules because you're being a dick. So I think if you can exploit it to your advantage, then all the power to you. But when it affects other people and kind of puts them in a tough spot, I think that's when you kind of gotta look at revisiting and not allowing teams to do that.
Are you a fan of Apple Watches, Pete?
Nope.
Hey, okay.
That is also probably the lamest sports controversy, quote-unquote controversy, in the history of sports.
I think a lot of people agree. That's why it's kind of like up here, it was a big story and then it went away. Is it still a big thing in Boston?
No, nobody's talking about that here.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on videotaping the practices of the opposing team?
If it helps you win a Super Bowl, I'm all for it.
What about deflating footballs?
If it helps you win a Super Bowl, I'm all for it. But I don't see how that helps you win a Super Bowl when you ran the ball like 80% of the time in your AFC Championship game and still won by 40 points.
And have you read Tom Brady's book where he wakes up apparently every day and says he drinks 25 ounces of electrolyte balanced water? He's like a health book out. Did you guys read this?
No. Yeah,
and so I guess he's got a ridiculous routine, and health professionals have come out and said, no, you definitely shouldn't drink that much water. Like, have a glass of water, but not 25 ounces or whatever it was.
But I think the guy who's the greatest quarterback of all time knows a thing about.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe.
What if it
staying healthy?
What if it just happens to work?
Yeah, like I think we should trust a 40-year-old who's still playing in the NFL.
But I'm saying the research is for most people it does not work, but for him it just happens to work.
So let Tom Brady be Tom Brady, is what I'm saying.
Jesse, I want you to drink one of those giant office things of water, like just hold it over your head tomorrow morning, and I want to see you, become quarterback for the Argos.
Do I look like I have 5 Super Bowls?
Mm-hmm.
Pete?
I love Tom Brady with all my heart, but there's absolutely no way that I am taking nutrition or just lifestyle advice from that guy. Like, he claims to never have coffee. I'm already out on that. I would be an absolute monster if I could not drink coffee. And then he goes to bed at like 8:30 every night. Not interested in that either. And it's just, he doesn't eat like half of food groups.
He doesn't eat mushrooms or tomatoes.
Living like that.
Yeah. Like he won't eat mushrooms, tomatoes, things like that. Like he's like, I remember the quote I loved from him was, I don't need to taste a burger to know it tastes good. He's like,
what?
That is just like, I will go to war for Tom Brady 8 days a week. But if he said that in front of my face, I would probably just walk away.
Like, you're my friend and I love you, but I can't with you right now.
I'm leaving because I have to, because I don't want to say anything that I'll regret. I need to walk away from you right now.
I was on the radio last night with JD Bunkus and Ashley Docking, and Ashley admitted on the radio, Pete, that she has chicken fingers with a sauce that is ketchup and mayonnaise, which you might know as fancy sauce from Step Brothers.
That's disgusting.
I'm not allowed to be her friend, right?
Anti-mayo guy, and just combining mayo with anything just sounds like a bad time.
Wow. See, now, Pete, mayo's fantastic. I don't
It's
know what
absolutely
you're
not.
talking about.
Mayo is tremendously
You guys
overrated.
you're wrong about mayo, okay?
Yeah,
I love you
we're
both,
not.
but you're wrong
We're
about
not.
freaking mayo.
We're not. It's
Okay,
bad.
so I got some audio we want to play.
Oh,
And
the
this-
internet's back.
So the internet is back, Pete. The reason we haven't got to the audio yet is the internet, for some reason, inexplicably went down. But there's some things that we got to talk about. The first thing is a little bit older. Obviously, there's some clips that blew up today, but this one is from Mike Francesa at WFAN in New York. Now, just a little background: Penn State won a football game, 56-0. And it was against Georgia
No, they
State.
didn't win 56-0.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Penn State. Well, I guess okay. So there was a field goal attempt, and I'm going to play the clip. Field goal attempt with a few seconds left, and here's what happened. Ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Do with we had our fourth team on the field, and we don't have a fourth team field goal block. They didn't even really know how to get lined up with the mix and match guys that we had in there, so we called timeout to get the second team field goal block in there, and that's just kind of how it played out.
So Georgia State was basically, they had marched, they're down 56-0. They march into a field goal range, and they're like, okay, we might get a field goal here, so it can be 56-3. So at least we get on the board, right?
Get on the board. Don't get shut out in a football game, which I feel like is hard to do.
So what you heard there was the Penn State coach talking about why he called a timeout right before they were supposed to
because he iced the kicker when they were up 56-0.
And the kicker missed.
Oh my God. So the coach said, well, we had our fourth team on,
and we couldn't get it together. And people are saying, well, who cares? Mike Francesa had this to say.
Penn State coach James Franklin called a timeout with his team leading, and as Georgia State attempted a field goal with 11 seconds remaining. With his team trailing 56-0, Georgia State kicker Brandon Wright lined up for a 31-yard field goal and a shot to at least get on the scoreboard. But James Franklin wasn't conceding anything. Georgia State snapped the ball and Wright launched a kick through the uprights, but Franklin got a timeout in just under the wire. That is an absolute disgrace. And this stooge tried to alibi around it. And these fans who are happy now that they're winning 56-0 and could give a damn what they did to Georgia State, sit there and make excuses for them. Didn't have a kick block team. He's got to try and block a kick at 56-0. He's a horse's ass for doing that. That's a quote. It had to do with we had our fourth team on the field. We didn't have a four-team field goal block. What the heck do you need to block it for? Let the ball go through the uprights. You jerk. So we call timeout to get the second team field goal block in there. What a bunch of garbage that is. He sells you that, he'll sell you anything. The guy iced him, plain and simple, because he wanted a shutout. And he got some grief with him for some lame excuse that the alums could sell somebody.
He's going to pregnant pause.
Anybody watching knows that is complete nonsense. The guy kicks it again and misses, right? That's the bottom line. So I hope he was proud of himself as he ran across the field. You know, I hope he was proud of himself for getting that 56-0. I hope he was real proud of him. I hope he was proud of himself on a coach's show. Show it a few times. A lot of...
I could keep going, but I want to compare and contrast that, guys, because Mike Francesa sometimes gets fired up. Rarely does he get fired up, but when he does, it's interesting. Now, I want to know who did a better job. Was it Mike or was it this guy?
Pete wrote about this guy today, and I'm Pete all morning. I've been wanting to talk about this with you three all morning.
Is his name David Santana? Or is it Michael something? I don't know. I don't know this guy's name, but he's from ESPN Radio in New York, 98.7.
That's Pete.
That's Pete, yeah.
Oh, Pete, do you know?
It's something. His last name is two things. It's Don LaGreca is his name.
Don LaGreca. Okay. Don LaGreca looks like an older version of Guy Fieri.
He looks like the child of Augustus Gloop and Veruca Salt.
There you go. So here's what Don has to say, and this is also football related, about math.
Did he have to throw the football? Come on, stop it already, all right? Everybody's coming up with these now. Oh, well, this offensive lineman, only 27% of the time was Eli pressured from his left side on Monday nights when Sean McDonough's the announce. Stop creating some narrative that everybody knows football better than somebody else. Your eyeballs tell the story. The offensive line sucks, period. That's my stat. You want a stat? You want sabermetrics? Don LaGreca tweeted last night or said on the Michael K. Show, offensive line stinks. That's the stat. Give me a break. That's what we're going to do, Michael? We're going to be like accountants now in baseball? Was it the Pythagorean theorem? The Pythagorean theorem said that the Red Giants offensive line, that their record should be 1-1. That's the Pythagorean theorem that the Giants' offensive line that their record will be 2-0.
When I talk Pythagorean theorem, I sound like that?
No. The people that trust the Pythagorean theorem.
Okay.
The people that listen to the Pythagorean theorem. The people that sit there at their desk that only know the naked body through National Geographic that do the math to come up with the Pythagorean theorem. That's what they sound like. Quit it. It's football. I've been watching it for 40 years. 40 years. 40! That's one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen. And they have not gone this long without scoring 20 points since 77-78 when Joe Pisarcik was their quarterback. Patterson played Joe.
How
So
wet is
take
that microphone?
with your Pythagorean theorem. The Joe Pisarcik theorem. You're dead.
He is as orange as his shirt, by the way, when this ends.
Oh my God! Listen, first it was Kevin Durant. You do not want a problem with me, Pythagoras. You so-called ancient Greek Pythagoras. Oh my God! The I'm a man, I'm 40 guy off the hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I have two strong takeaways from both of those clips. And the first one is I could not disagree more with Mike Francesa. Sports is not about protecting people's feelings.
Thank you.
If you can shut out a team, you got to go for it. You got to shut them out if you have the opportunity to do it. And that's not even to mention the fact that by calling a timeout, the kicker still has an opportunity to do his job. He didn't do his job. He missed the kick, and that's his problem. It's not the coach's fault. If you can win 56-0, that's better than winning 56-3. And you're not doing your job correctly if you're not trying to beat the opponent as badly as you can. So that's my take on that. And then this guy, there is a 0% chance that he even knows what the Pythagorean theorem is. It in no way applies to football at all.
It did build his house, though, which is interesting. I mean, you use that in engineering.
You know what built his house, Adam? Men with brawn and their bare hands. And then when they went home, they went and watched football.
For 40 years!
For 40 years! That's how they built his house!
Also, the most underrated part of that clip is him thinking that nerds have to go to National Geographic.
Thank you, Pete. My big takeaway from this, I listened to this in the car on my car speakers, blaring it like it was the Wu-Tang Clan. It was the best. And my first thought when I heard that quote was, this guy fucks.
Here's this guy making fun of nerds who probably spend all day on the computer and all day online and thinks that they have to go get a National Geographic magazine to see naked women. Definitely not aware of how the internet works.
No, or how
is there another way?
How the internet might have grown.
Catalogs?
Okay, so last clip. Last clip. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with sports, but I still think it's important that we play it because it's an important clip. It's another freakout, and I want to compare contrast with the first two. Okay, are we ready?
Oh, my God. You know what's... Here, before you play it. Pete, damn it, I'm so happy you're back doing what you do. Like, you got to write an article about that clip.
What did you say?
I know.
You're living the dream, dude.
I know. It really is the best, and that's why I'm so excited to be able to write about that. About the stuff that people are talking about online every day, because usually it's dumb crap like that. Like, that is where I thrive, and just the dumbest stories in the sports world. So I'm very excited about it.
Please change your name to Pete Pythagoras. Oh my God.
All right, so this is from MSNBC, and I think it's O'Connell? Something O'Connell.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. You've heard the clip, but we have to play it again.
He's forever the hammer guy.
Congress. Michael Iskoff has the latest on that.
Lawrence O'Donnell.
Lawrence O'Donnell.
Stop the hammering. Stop the hammering out there. Who's got a hammer? Where is it?
I don't know.
Where's the hammer? Is it on the... Go up on the other floor. Somebody go up there and stop the hammering. Stop the hammering.
This poor old man.
I'll go down to the goddamn floor myself and stop it. Keep the goddamn commercial break going. Call fucking Phil Griffin. I don't care who the fuck you have to call. Stop the hammering. Fucking out of control shit.
Now, he released a tweet and apologized.
Sucks.
Oh.
It fucking sucks
He
to
tweeted
be
an
out
apology?
here with this out of control shit.
Pete, did you see the whole 8-minute clip?
It's 8 minutes?
8 minutes
That's
long.
8 minutes.
Yeah, so this is the I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
Okay? Because it's 8 minutes long. There's a solid 4 or 5 minutes of him freaking out, which was probably over the course of potentially a couple hours. Because it's just his
Right,
hits,
it's just
right?
yeah.
So we're missing all the so this is going on. What was driving him nuts is someone's just having a casual conversation in his ear about some other shit. And you just see him like he's about to keel over.
Right. And he's so controlled in his read otherwise, right? What's amazing, he goes from angry to like very controlled.
Yeah, and he's not very verbal about it. He's just like, there's someone in my ear. And it gets more and more. There's a woman talking in my ear, and you see him like he starts to get up from his desk, but he doesn't actually say anything. And then that fucker with the hammer. And he just pops. Now, it wasn't just that there was a lead up to it, because you shouldn't freak out on people like that. Mm-hmm. Who released that footage?
Yeah.
It's now my life goal to put that clip on audio and then just walk around into a random stranger's house while they have sex and just start playing Stop the Hammering!
Stop the hammering!
If the Leafs or Bruins ever get blown out this year, we should just put that clip out there.
Stop the hammering!
That has so many uses, and I'm going to use it at every given opportunity.
That's amazing.
Stop the hammer! That poor guy. Why did he tweet an apology? I'm sorry that someone on my staff released this footage.
No, he said a better man would have handled the situation. Would have handled the situation better.
I understand why he issued one.
Also, shout out him for having @Lawrence on Twitter.
Wow,
it's just Lawrence?
Lawrence is his Twitter handle.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
dope.
He was on that early.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's pretty cool. If you get one name, you're known as one guy.
It's like him, Drill,
God.
bunch of other ones.
Yep.
God.
So we're running out of time here because we started a little bit late today.
My fault.
Things happen. But Pete, before we go, those 3 clips, which was the best freakout? Which was the one that you're like, man, I could listen to that over and over and over again. I'll never get tired.
Well, I mean, it's tough to say that the guy who went on for 8 minutes didn't have the best freakout, but I will say, I think oh man, that's such a tough question. I think the Pythagorean theorem one is probably the best, just in the sense that it makes absolutely no sense, and there's like zero connection, and none of that rant makes any sense at all. Like, you can see where the other 2 guys are coming from. So I when picking the best rant, I'm going to go with the most nonsensical, and that's for sure the Giants Pythagorean theorem one.
I couldn't agree more, because one was a guy having a very bad day. The other was Mike Francesa, who, if he had just been like, I called a timeout, what a jerk, he hammed it up. This other dude went deep into his past.
Yeah.
And into a deep psychological
he
scar.
Was deeply hurt at one point in his life.
In his high school career.
Theorem.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and you can listen to it again, because he goes on about Pythagorean theorem, and then finally he's just going, ah! Ah! Like he's just screaming to the point where his co-host is trying to reel it in, and while his co-host is talking, ah! He's just screaming through it.
It's like a guttural instinct almost, right?
He's screaming at his grade 10 teacher right now.
Right,
in
right.
his head.
And he did a lisp on command.
Yeah.
A great move during a rant. Just implement a lisp.
Yeah, just do whatever, like the 60s, like whatever you would taunt a nerd with back then. You bring that out.
Right.
That's been in the locker for 30 or 40 years. Now you bring that out now. The Pythagorean theorem.
It's nice that outside of hockey, the analytics debate still rages. I'm glad it rages in football. I'm glad it rages in a little bit in basketball too. It's nice to know that it's everywhere. It's
Pete,
not
I
just
bring
here.
this to you. Who would be the most likely person to have a Pythagorean theorem rant in hockey?
Jeremy Roenick.
What a great pick.
Wow. I think it'd be a good one too. I'd watch that. Like now, because if Milbury did it, I don't know if I would enjoy it as much, but I feel like JR would at least be really funny about it, even if he was wrong.
JR, the Anakin Skywalker of hockey broadcasting.
Why do you call him that?
You were supposed to be the chosen one.
It's true.
I think Milbury would do it justice, but I think that he would be able to kind of form sentences better than Jeremy Roenick. So I would rather see Jeremy Roenick just spew absolute nonsense and just throw the Pythagorean theorem in there somewhere.
That'd be good.
Throw a water bottle from the bench and just. That was great. That was great. In such a short time, I feel like we haven't had 3 real good viral breakdowns.
Not in a while.
No.
Okay, random question before we go here. How much does your staff have to hate you before something like that gets out? Like, I almost wonder
that can't
if
be the first one.
If that can't be the first freakout he's ever had, right? Because at a certain point you're like, okay, well, we'll keep this under the rug or whatever. But if you're like that constantly, it's bound to get out. That's why I always feel like, okay, you see one rat, there's like a nest that you don't see. Do you know what I mean?
One cockroach, yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if. Sorry, go ahead, Pete.
That's like the Bill O'Reilly thing where he's like,
Yes.
fuck it, we'll do a live. Like, that guy had a million of those rants over the course of his career, and they just ended up picking the best one and putting it out there.
And it
The
is
Bill
a doozy.
O'Reilly
Look
one
how
is
much of an asshole this guy is.
underrated aspect of the Bill O'Reilly one, though. Fuck it, we'll do it live, and I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. That's an old clip.
He was doing entertainment at that point.
That means someone saved like a beta tape.
Yeah.
Yes. That's like OG internet days where there was like 3 videos on the internet, and that was one of them.
Yeah, they had this thing like the size of 10 iPads stacked on top of each other in their house for probably a couple decades.
And transitioned it.
And then they saw him on Fox one day and were just like, you know what? Fuck this guy. And they converted it. They had to convert it to digital and then upload it. Like, they had to really put effort.
They hated him. You have to hate someone.
Into that hatred.
You have to. There's some passion there. That's passion. That's dedication. I want this to go to as many eyeballs as possible.
I want them to be a coworker of Pete Blackburn.
Absolutely.
That kind of dedication and hard work.
Pete, good luck this season, man. Whenever the Leafs play the Bruins, we're gonna harass you on the phone and make you leave work for a bit. But we're so excited for you as fans of you because it's amazing that you're back at work, and I'm glad you had a great summer. And frankly, I'm a little fucking jealous. Okay.
Thank you very much. You should be. I had a great summer.
Good. I'm glad.
Good.
Well, hey, how's unemployment going for you, Pete?
Good one, man. Good one. Hey, congratulations on the Sportsnet extension, by the way.
Thank you. I didn't tweet that for, like, everyone was very nice, and they're like, hey, man, congrats. That's so great to hear. I literally just did that to troll The Athletic. Like, I thought it was funny.
Right.
I said, big day tomorrow, and then I'm like, I'm just staying with the company you probably thought I was going to stay with anyway. And then everyone was like really nice, and including Pete. So thank you.
Well, don't get used to it because that's the one time the internet will be nice to you this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna get laid off, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, I bet you were, Steve." Boy who cried wolf. I'm screwed.
So Pete, we'll be looking out for you. Follow Pete Blackburn on Twitter, and obviously, we'll be on to chirp you about the Bruins and how terrible they are this year. Every time they play the Leafs. Okay, man.
Perfect.
All right. And looking forward to the Steelers-Patriots matchup, too. Do you think that New England's defense is the worst or second worst in the league?
No, they'll be fine. They'll
be fine.
And Bill we trust.
See? Patriots fans, man. They never have to worry. They never have to doubt.
Nope, never.
All right. We'll be back next Tuesday, I believe. Is it Chris Johnson will be on?
Yes.
Chris Johnson will be on from Sportsnet. And I think that's it. Is that what we have to do?
I will say tentatively.
Tentatively.
And he said tentatively a billion times because, hockey happens.
Right. Fair enough. Pete, thanks so much. We'll see you guys next Tuesday.
Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Brought to you by Panago Pizza. Order at panago.com and stuff your face with deliciousness.